Hi friends, welcome to QApedia and this is our blog qapedia.com. The topic that we are going to discuss today is JavaScript tutorial loops in JavaScript, and the subtopics that we will discuss today are loops in JavaScript, what is loops, types of for loops, types of while loops, implementation of loops, using for loop, using while loop, using do while loop, and then understanding of for loop, understanding of while loop, and then understanding of do while loop, and at the end summary of the session. So let's start. Loops in JavaScript. So what is loops? So when we want to execute a piece of code for a number of times without writing it multiple times, then we use loops for that. So for example, if you want to print hello world 5 times, then what you can do write it something like this. You can write the statement something like this 5 times. So let's see this in our VS Code or in our Replit. So let's go to Replit, and this is our JavaScript demo project, and then this is console.log statement, and we can write here hello world. So now we want to print it five times, so we can just do one thing. We can copy it, Control C, and then paste it, and that's it. Now if suppose you will run this project, then it will print hello world 5 times. But this is not an efficient way to write it, because if suppose the number will increase from 5 to 100 or even 1000 times, suppose you have to print hello world 1000 times, then you will have to write it 1000 times, and writing it 1000 times does not make sense, and therefore loops are very useful in these types of scenarios. Now let's take one more example. Suppose we have to print some numbers from 1 to 5, then what we can do, we can again write it something like this, console.log 1 2 3 4 5. So let's see that here, 1 2 3 4 and 5, and then run it. So we can see 1 2 3 4 5 is getting printed. Now again same thing, this is not an efficient way. Suppose if number will increase from 5 to 100 or even 1000, then writing it 1000 times does not make sense, and therefore loops are very useful in these types of scenarios as well. Now let's see types of loops. So types of loops are for loops and while loops. Then we have some categories in for loop as well. So types of for loops are for loop, for off loop, for in loop. These two loops we will discuss later, because we need some other concepts as well if you want to understand these two loops. Then we have type of while loops. So in types of while loops also we have two types of loops, while loop and do while loop. So we are going to discuss three loops in this session: for loop, while loop, and do while loop. Then let's see implementation of loops. So now let's see how can we write the code for printing hello world multiple times using loops. Same thing which we have seen here. Now we will write it here using loops. Okay, so first of all we will write it using for loop. So for loop we have to write it something like this. We have to use a keyword for, then we have to use a bracket, and inside braces what we have to do, we have to initialize a variable. We have to declare a variable and initialize it, and after that we have to write some condition, and after writing that condition we have to increase the value of that variable. Some action we have to do here, and then we have to write the statement here, console.log hello world. So let's write it like this here. Let's go to Replit and let's see, for let I is equals to 0, and then I, and then I less than 5, then I plus plus, and inside this we will write a statement console.log hello world. Yeah, and remove it. Now what we'll do, we'll just clear it off and we will run this. So we can see 5 times hello world is printed. How does it work? We have to understand how does for loop work. So first of all, in this for loop, the first thing that gets executed is declaration and initialization of the variable. Let I equals to 0. Then our cursor comes here. It checks the condition. I is less than 5. So I is less than 0 is less than 5. So condition is true. If the condition is true, our cursor comes here, and what has to be executed? This hello world has to be printed. Once this hello world has printed, now our cursor will come here. So now it will increase the value of I. I was 0, it will become 1. When I will become 1, then our cursor will go here. It won't go here because this is only one time execution. Then our cursor will come here to this condition. Now I value is 1, 1 is less than 5, yes, condition is true. So it will come here, it will print the value. Now again our cursor will go here, I plus plus, I was 1, 1 plus 1, 2. So it will become 2. Now it will go here, 2, I value is 2, 2 is less than 5, yes, it is true, and it will print the statement. So it will happen until I will become 5. As soon as I will become 5, our cursor will come here, 5 is less than 5, no, condition is not true, and our cursor will come out of this loop. So that's how our statement is printing 5 times. Now this was our first example which we have seen using for loop. Now let's see this example. Yeah, how can we write the code for printing numbers from 1 to 5 using loops, which we were writing it here normally. Now we have to do this using for loop. So we will do this using for loop. So let's go to Replit, and then we will see here everything will remain same, and here also everything will remain same. Only in place of hello world we can write here I, value of I. That's it, nothing else. We'll write here value of I, and now what will we do? Now what we are going to do, we will just run it, and when we run it we can see, oh, it is printing from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we will do one thing, we'll make it here as 1 and I is less than equal to 5. Now we will run it. So now it is printing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is how our loop works here. If you want to understand this statement also, it is very simple. First of all, initialization, let I equals to 1, then condition check, I is less than equal to 5, it is true. Then it will come here, it will print the value of I, which is 1. Then it will go here, I plus plus, so 1 plus 1, 2, it will go, now it will go here, 2 is less than equal to 5, it is true. Again it will print the statement. Once the statement is printed, it will go here, I plus plus, so 2 plus 1, 3, and then 3 is less than equal to 5, it is true, and then it is going to print value of I. So this is how our for loop works. Now the same things we have to see using while loop. Now using while loop, how can you print hello world 5 times or multiple times? So let's see this. The while loop will be like this. In we'll use the keyword while, and inside braces we'll write here condition, nothing else, only condition, I less than 5. So if I less than 5, then this I would have been declared somewhere and some value would be there, so we will declare it outside the loop. So let I equals to 1. Anyways, this is one time process, right? In for loop also this is a one time process. It does not get executed multiple times. So let I equals to 1, then condition I less than 5, so 1 is less than 5, correct, comes inside this console.log, hello world is printed, and then inside loop will increase the value of I. 1 will be increased by 1, it will be 2, then again our cursor will come here, 2 less than 5, condition is true, and then it is going to print the value, print the hello world value. So let's do one thing, let's use while loop and then print the statement. So go to replit and write here while, first of all let I is equals to 1, then while I is less than equal to 5, and that's it, done. Console dot log, and we'll write here hello world. Hello world. Done. Now let's do one thing, let's run it. It is infinite loop. So we have to stop it. So we'll stop it. We did a mistake that we did not increase the value of I. We have to increase the value. So because we did not increase the value, so what happened? It was an infinite loop. It was not ending at all. I don't know how many times it has printed the value. Oh my god, too many times this value has been printed. It is not ending only. Oh, it's too much. So we did a mistake here. So we should not do this type of mistake. Now let's do one thing, clear it and then run it again. Yeah, now it is printing 5 times. So we should never do this type of mistake, that our loop should not go to infinite loop. Then we have to do this thing, that how can we write a program to print numbers from 1 to 5 using loop. So let's do this using while loop. Everything is going to be same. Here we'll just change the value of I. So we'll just change the value of I, and that's it. We'll run it. It is running, and yeah, I equals to 1 2 3 4 5. So it is working perfectly fine. Now same program using do while loop. So in do while loop, what happens, that it is same like while loop, but the syntax is something like this. First we write do, then the statement, and then our increment or any work, and then our condition checking. Our condition will be checked. So let's write a program using do while loop. So this is going to be same, only here our things will be changed. Do, that's it, and then console dot log, here we'll write hello world, and here we have to write while, and we'll write the condition here, I is less than equal to 5. and let's run this program. So it is printing hello world. Now, so our program is running like this. Now in place of hello world, if we will print the value I, and then what will we do? We will just run the program. Then what will happen? It is going to print of the value of I, which is 1 2 3 4 5. So this is how we can write programs for these two scenarios using for loop, while loop, and do while loop. Now let's understand how for loops works. So we have already seen, but let's see it again. Index of for loop, write a keyword for, and inside this, first thing that we have to write, it is variable initialization or declaration, then condition, and then incrementation, and then block of code. In case of while, we have to just write the condition and then inside block of code. And in case of do while loop also same thing, do and then block of code and then while condition. So this is how we write our for loops. Now what is the difference between all the loops if you see? So let's do one thing. Let's remove everything and let's write for loop. So here we'll write for, sorry, let I is equals to 1, then I is less than 1, and then I plus plus, and let's write here console dot hello world, or let's write console dot I. Yeah, so what happened? Nothing happened. So what did we do? We wrote for loop, let I equals to 1, so it is variable declaration, then I is less than 1, so 1 is less than 1, condition is false, so that's it. Our control will come outside the loop, our for loop will not be executed. Now let's do one thing, let's write while loop, and how will we do it? We'll write here while, and that's it. Yeah, now let's run it. So again nothing happened, our loop did not run. But let's do one thing, control X, let's write here do while, and let's run it. So what happened? Our loop executed. So even if our condition is getting false, our loop is getting executed in case of do while loop. So do while loop is a kind of loop which is going to be executed at least once. For loop will be executed only if the condition is true, while loop will be executed only if the condition is true, but do while loop will be executed at least once even if the condition is false. So we should know this thing about do while loop. Now let's see the summary of the session. So we have covered below topics in today's session. What are loops in JavaScript? What are different types of loops in JavaScript? What is while loop? What is do while loop? And what is for loop? So that's it in the session. Thank you very much, guys.